Welcome to Papa's Workshop. Well, it's time for an upgrade. This is a new TackLife cord reel that I'm going to be installing in my shop. This is a much heavier duty. It's a commercial grade unit that is going to far exceed any of the cord reels that I currently have. One of them actually quit working after a number of years, so it's time for the upgrade. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about this from TackLife and install it for you. Let's get started. A day in the shop with Papa and Papa's Workshop. To support my channel, please go to patreon.com/Papa's Workshop. In today's video, we're going to be unboxing and installing this new cord reel by TackLife. Now this is an item that I'm going to put into the beginner series because I believe having a cord reel in your shop is very, very important. It helps you manage the extension cords. Now I prefer to have it mounted in the ceiling, mainly because I do not want the cords on the floor, because to me that's just too big of a trip hazard. Now over the last 4 or 5 years, I've had 2 different cord reels that hanging in my ceiling in the different areas of the shop, and I love them. I do not like having cords on the floor because that creates a trip hazard. Well, this new one from TackLife is a commercial grade. Now this is 65 feet. My old ones were only 30 feet of cord. 65 feet is going to reach all over my shop, and that's part of the reason I'm going to be locating it in the ceiling where I am, so it can have complete coverage anywhere that I need the cord. Now this is 12 gauge wire. It is much heavier duty than my old ones. My old ones were only a 16 gauge wire. They were only 30 feet long. And here's a close-up look at the specs of it. I like the fact that it's a 12 gauge wire, 65 feet long. And it's replacing this old one. Now, this was the 30-foot one, and this had a 16 gauge cord, and it doesn't work anymore. So what I've had to do is just pull it out, lay it on the table, and drag the cord around, and I don't like that. These plugs actually became loose, and the cords that I plugged in would not stay in. Now, this is the second one. This one is even older, and it still works extremely well. Now, this does have the 12 gauge wire, and it's still only 30 feet long. Now, I'm going to move this one and put it where the broken one is, and then I'm going to take the new TackLife cord reel and put it in the same position as this one from Craftsman. Now to mount this, I actually want to orient it in a different direction. I want to rotate it 90 degrees from the one that's existing on the ceiling. And to be able to do that, I'm just going to add another 2x4 to be able to attach it to the ceiling joist, and then I'll screw it in. Now while I'm up here, I'm just going to go ahead and pull this one down, set it aside, and we'll remount this one in just a moment. Now taking these old ones down is real easy. I just pull the pin out, and then I unscrew the 2 screws that hold the ceiling mount, and I'm done. Now I don't want this extra stuff laying around on my ceiling, so that's why I'm getting it all removed and cleaned up. Now I'd measured that 2x4, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it to length, and I'm going to pre-drill all of the holes. I'm going to put 2 3-inch screws in each end, and then I'm going to pre-drill the bolts and put those in as well, all in the comfort of the workbench rather than trying to do that from the ladder and in the ceiling position. Now keep in mind, if you wish to install any of these cord reels on the wall, you certainly can do so. But for me, having it in the ceiling is much, much better. Now what I'm going to do is mark the center point on this 2x4, and then I'm going to go ahead and measure the distance between the 2 holes on the cord reel and pre-drill those holes for the bolts. Now the bolts can go ahead and get screwed into position, and they just need to stay loose, because on the TackLife cord reel it is slotted so that you can easily just slip that over the bolts and then tighten it in position. Now I'm verifying that the distance between the 2 holes, and in this case is 7 1/4 inches. And then I'll go ahead and drill those holes in the 2x4, and we'll be ready to put it on the ceiling. Now with all of the preparation work done, it's time to head back over to the ladder and let's go ahead and put this 2x4 on the ceiling. And with everything pre-drilled, it makes installing this so much easier. So keep that in mind if you're planning on doing this in your shop. And from there, the bolts are already set to the correct distance, and there's plenty of room just to be able to slip this in those slots and then hook it onto the ceiling. And that way you don't have to hold it. Once it's hooked in, then all you need to do is just tighten those bolts up. Now there's two reasons I decided to move this a little bit over. One, I'm going to add another light where the old one was, and that will complete the whole row of lights. And two, I like the orientation in this direction better because it's going to be easier to access the cord and move it around the shop. So don't be afraid to change and move things to be able to make your shop more organized. Now one of the things you'll notice, this cord is very long. Well, it has this little orange ball here, and that's adjustable. Because if I left that cord that long, I'd be bumping my head all the time. But I can just loosen the two screws, slide this down to the end, and put that little ball back on, and then I can go ahead and retract that last 3.5, almost 4 feet, and that will get it above my head height, so I'm not going to bump my head. Don't need a headache in the shop. And the other nice thing about that is I have a long cord that goes from the cord reel to be able to plug into the ceiling. Now that too is hanging too low. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it and make a loop out of it, put a couple of ties on it, and it'll be out of the way also. Now later, when I add another light into this area, I'll be able to adjust the length of the cord as necessary and have that cord run over on top of the light and still be out of the way. But that's a project for another day. Now it's time to go ahead and remove the old broken one. And I think what I may do is just go ahead and save the cord out of this and make an extension cord from it rather than just throwing the entire thing away. It's nice to be able to recycle. Now I also measured this bracket, and that bracket is exactly the same size as the one from the other unit. So no need to change that. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the same bracket, put the pin back into it, and bolt it in. And can't get much easier than that. That saves a whole step on having to remount the bracket. Now that that pin is all tight, all I have to do is just plug this back into the ceiling and it's done. Can't get much easier. So this project is completed. I have this new cord reel in its position. The new TackLife is in its position. So I am now back in business and I can discard the old one that no longer works. So I like being able to have these two positioned in the shop. It makes it so much easier rather than having the cords hanging around the floor. This is a great addition to my shop, having the TackLife cord reel with 65 feet of the 12 gauge cord. That is fantastic. I can cover literally all over my shop and have that cord anywhere that I need it. Now I like having it hanging from the ceiling because I do not like cords laying on the floor. It's too big of a trip hazard. So this placement is absolutely perfect. Now the other one that I put up, I moved it from one end of the shop to the other to replace the one that is no longer working. Now I have two cord reels strategically located in the shop that are going to be working for hopefully many years to come. I'm also glad that TackLife has their own store now. I'm going to put a link down in the description below so that you can go and check out all the different products that they have. Now, one of the things that I would suggest is checking out their store. I have tested out a number of their tools and quite frankly have been rather impressed by them. And I think it's well worth your time to be able to check out these tools. So thank you for watching today, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. It was short and to the point, and it definitely was a needed upgrade in my shop. So please go ahead and subscribe and hit the little bell notification next to it so that you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. And until next time, I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in my shop on whatever project that I'm working on.